Right now, voters are casting their ballots and making their choices for who should be the next mayor of Atlanta. The race likely heading to a runoff. So tonight we are asking our expert. I'm joined right now by Dr. Andrea Gillespie, 11 Live political analyst. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
First, I want to start off by talking about the number of candidates that we have on the ballot. I know it's been cumbersome for a lot of people who are trying to navigate this process of selecting one. Why do you think so many people decided to throw their name in?
A lot of people threw their hat in the race at the last minute because Keisha Lance Bottoms pulled out. So she would have had a contested election had she run, but she wouldn't have had nearly the number of candidates had she stayed in the race. And with her out, a lot of people saw an opportunity to potentially be the next mayor.
A big thing we've been talking a lot about are crime and policing having been the biggest issues. When we talk about our 11 Alive poll, about 76% of our voters said crime would be a major factor in deciding who they would vote for. So what are some of the key things that you think voters are looking for and how somebody can tackle that issue?
Well, there are a couple of ways that people could be thinking about crime as an issue. So for those who want crime to be reduced, they're going to be looking for candidates who are going to say something with respect to law and order. The complication is that this is in a moment where criminal justice issues and policing reform are also important. And so we've seen the candidates all try to balance their desire to promote public safety and law and order, but do so in an equitable and a just way so that we don't have another Rayshard Brooks situation.
And again, we'll have to watch and see how what they say and what they're planning and doing kind of unfold as we get whoever in office. Do you think there are going to be any surprises? I asked you that as we were preparing for this segment.
So the surprises that I would be looking for is whether somebody can actually win the election outright with 50% plus one of the vote. I don't anticipate that's happening. If something like that were to happen, it would suggest really low turnout, and then I would be very surprised.
So a lot of folks have been talking about former Mayor Kasim Reed and former City Council President or current City Council President Felicia Moore as being the front runners. That's what some of our polling has showed as well. So what do you think are the chances or the likelihood that we actually see somebody else get into those spots and knock one of them out?
One of the interesting features of this election cycle was the fact that so many people were undecided even in the weeks leading up to the election. And so actually undecided was leading in all of the polls as opposed to Felicia Moore or Kasim Reed. It suggested that some of those people may or may not turn out. And if those folks didn't turn out to vote, that probably bodes better for Reed and Moore. However, if some of those undecided people did actually show up to vote today and they broke for a wide array of candidates, that might create an opportunity for some of the second-tier candidates like Andre Dickens or Sharon Gay to overperform what their polling numbers suggested that they were going to do.
You talked about turnout. That has been a concern. We've heard some of the candidates say that they felt like there's already been a low turnout. This isn't a year where we expect to see a lot of people. What do you think about that?
Well, nobody should have expected this year's turnout to look like last year's turnout. You know, this is an off-cycle election. It's an off-year election. It's a local election. More people should vote in local elections, but it was really incumbent on the candidates and the campaigns to educate voters about the election, to remind them, and then to make sure that they got their constituents out to turn out to vote. But because it's a low turnout election, whichever candidate has the best message and the best turnout operation is likely going to be in a strong position to move on to the runoff.
Dr. Gillespie, thank you as always. Always a pleasure to hear from you.